G Money Sports Fam, welcome back. It's been a long time since I recorded one of these videos. It's one of my favorite things I did last year for football season. I've wanted to start doing it again. Just moved to a new city, started a new job, so getting settled in, but now all settled and I'm ready to get back to the grind. Started off the year, put out my Twitter and Facebook pics like usual, but I really enjoy these videos. I hope you guys get something out of them. Um, I upgraded the equipment, so I got an actual microphone now. So hopefully my audio quality is a lot better. I also have this ring light. Don't know exactly where to position it to get the best lighting, but trying for today. I was trying to get the G Money Sports merch showing as best as possible, and I think this makes it pop. So hopefully it comes across looking good. Today, the plan, just going to go over my college football and NFL picks for the week. Going forward, last year I know we did guests in talks with some of the guys I worked with last year and then some other people about doing some other stuff. So just look out for all that. We'll see if I get another person on here. So to make the show go back and forth a little bit more, not just me talking the whole time. Uh, that being said, I'm really excited to kick off this season and going forward. I won't be so football focused. Football is the easiest because it's on just in the weekends. But going forward, I love all the sports. I watch all of them. Right now, I'm watching the end of San Jose State game. I had UNLV +7. Didn't turn out too well. But those Friday games have been really hard this season to pick. I've had terrible records all year on them. So Nebraska, they got the win. They got off to too slow of a start. Couldn't cover that 3 points, unfortunately. But I'm really excited for this board tomorrow for Saturday. There's a lot of really good games, especially early on, the early slate. Make sure you're up early. If there's one slate you want to watch, definitely that 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock Eastern Time slate. So I'll just get right into it. Going forward, if there's anything you guys want me to cover, I'm not exactly sure what the format of these videos will be going forward. This is just what I'm putting out this week. So if you have any suggestions, comments, questions, anything, feel free to reach me on my socials. Twitter, Facebook, and now TikTok. And you could leave a comment on this YouTube video here today. Always looking for feedback. I want to put out what you guys want to listen to. So just, hit me up with that. And with that being said, we can get right into the card. It's going to be a short video today. Recording here late. I was watching that Padres-Mets game finish up. Started the day 3-0 on baseball picks. Mets game kind of killed me. I had the under Scherzer's over strikeouts, which he got blown up pretty early on, and I had Mets money line. But started the day Guardians money line. I had Phillies money line, and I had Mariners money line. So pretty good day in baseball. I'm kind of getting back into MLB now that the playoffs are on. It's too many games for me to keep up with. It's also I don't enjoy watching the sport as much as I do others. So. And it's also a good time because, you have football and basketball season go right in, and then you have the English Premier League soccer season ends in May. So taking that June and July is just kind of a little bit of a break, kind of refresh the batteries. It's much needed after the long sports calendar season. But October starting, that means we're at conference football games. Best time of the year. Really excited. Season started off really good so far. Lots of exciting games. Teams are starting to figure themselves out as a better, I've watched these teams play 3 or 4 games each, so starting to understand their tendencies, understanding matchups, and what matchups will be beneficial for them. It's very helpful. Starting the year, you're kind of still figuring out things from the off season, figuring out moves, that kind of thing. But starting off the first show. With the noon slate tomorrow, first game I have is Maryland -3. Tua Tagovailoa is one of my most exciting quarterbacks to watch since he's been in college. Purdue has a surprisingly good defense this year. They've taken a step back offensively. They still have the chance to be explosive, but losing David Bell and kind of hurt their receiving core. It hasn't really recovered from that. I like Maryland -3. They're at home. It's an early game. Purdue's definitely a frisky team, always is on the road, especially. But Talia, this is now his third year starting. I think he's putting it together, and the offense has been putting up points, which is another reason I like the over at 58.5 for that game. Like I said, Purdue's defense has been better, but Maryland's defense is really bad, so they're going to give up at least 24, 27, 30 points. I think Maryland will score in the 40s. I think this is a shootout. I have Louisville, Virginia over 50.5. Virginia's defense is really, really bad, so I would expect Louisville to put up a lot of points. And I also expect Virginia to score because Louisville's defense isn't very good. Both these defenses kind of suck, so for that I'm going to take the points over 50.5. We have Tennessee in a good matchup going to LSU. I have Tennessee -3. This is kind of a loyalty pick. I've hit Tennessee a couple weeks in a row, and I like Hendon Hooker more than I like Jalen Daniels, their quarterback at LSU. I think he's more dynamic. He has better control of the offense. And Tennessee's defense, I mean, they're not great, but they're good at forcing turnovers. They can get enough possessions back where I think they give it to the ball to the offense, and I don't know if LSU will be able to stop them. Especially early slate game is huge. Playing like a late night game at Death Valley is one of the hardest places to play in college football. So I think getting that game early is big. Going on to Texas, Oklahoma, big game. Oklahoma is at home. I'm taking them +7. Dylan Gabriel might not be playing, so that's a little concerning. But at home and in a rivalry game, I take the home team and the points all day. Same thing, same logic applies. Kansas +7. I think that offense, number 2 in the country right now. It's not. I mean, they haven't played the best competition, but Iowa State's defense is pretty tough, and they were able to move the ball against them enough to win the game. I mean, they scored 14 points, so it wasn't a high-scoring game, but they showed enough to where they are legit. TCU came off big win against Oklahoma. It's kind of a letdown spot for them, traveling up to Kansas. I like Kansas to stay within that 7 points. I have Ohio -11 over Akron. I think Akron's going to be the worst team in the MAC this year, and I like Ohio's offense to put up points. They're going to run all over Akron. I love that game. Oklahoma State -9 over Texas Tech. Oklahoma State's defense is the main reason I'm taking this. They force a lot of turnovers. Texas Tech gives up a lot of sacks. There's a lot of pressure on their quarterback, and he's turned the ball over as well. So I think they're going to get enough turnovers to give it to the ball to their offense. Spencer Sanders has been really good this year for Oklahoma State. It's a home game too. So yeah, Oklahoma State, I like them to keep that or to cover the spread at 9. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State under 68.5. I think, like I said, Oklahoma State's defense will be in the backfield all night on Texas Tech. I think Oklahoma State will probably put up in the 30s, but I don't think Texas Tech will match. I think they'll be around 17, 20 points. I think that one stays under pretty easily. My favorite play of the day and my lock, Georgia, -29.5. I don't like to overreact to one game. Missouri on the road, late at night game. They're an SEC team. They have the athletes too. Sometimes you just don't get up, and especially coming off a national championship, you have those left down spots sometimes. But that's even more reason to take them coming to spread the next week, especially against a really bad Auburn team that lost to Penn State already this year, 41-12. And I think Penn State's a lot better than Auburn is, and it's also in Georgia, so I'd be very surprised. It's that 3:30 slate, and I feel like that for whatever reason, that 3:30 SEC slate, there's always a blowout. It's always supposed to be a good game because it's usually Alabama, and then they just go and blow the team out, and it ends up not being a good game. But yeah, that's my lock of the day. Georgia -29.5. I think they'll be up 4 touchdowns in the first half and coast in the second half easily. I don't know if Auburn will score more than 10 points, if that. I have Utah -4 against UCLA. This comes down to, I think Utah is built to run the ball. There was control line of scrimmage. That's something that UCLA and Chip Kelly are not meant to do. Chip Kelly's offense has historically struggled against teams that can come in and force their will at the line of scrimmage. Utah is definitely one of those teams in the Pac-12. Is a bad matchup for UCLA, which is why I love Utah at -4. I have Duke -3.5 on the road to Georgia Tech. This one, Georgia Tech fired their coach 2 weeks ago. Last week, they won an outright as a 23-point dog. Incredible story, and that's the perfect reason why they're not going to cover this week. The interim coach always has the bump the first week where everyone's coming in with energy all week because they're fighting for their spots. So I expect them to come back down to the norm. And also Duke quietly has been a really good team this year. They blew out Northwestern, which Northwestern's terrible, but it's a Big Ten team. So, and they also held it close with Kansas for most of the game. Their offense has improved. Their defense is decent. Georgia Tech's just not a very good team. So I like the Duke -3.5. I like the Ohio State, Michigan State under 65. Michigan State's offense is putrid. They're so bad. Ohio State will probably put up at least 42 points on them, but they're not scoring 20 points on Ohio State. It's going to stay under. I would say pretty easily. That's one of my favorite plays on this card. I just don't see Michigan State putting up more than 14 points, if that. I have Clemson, BC, over 48.5. After last year, the Clemson over-unders I feel like have been very – they haven't been correct to how Clemson's playing this year. I think there's a lot of hangover effect from last year. Clemson's scoring. DJ, I'm not going to tempt his last name, but he's playing a lot better than he did last year. Even earlier this year, he's improved a lot. BC slings the ball over the field. That will go over pretty easily. I have Washington State covering 13 points at USC at a night game in the Pac-12. It's a really big game for Washington State. USC has a tough test next week. It's a possible look-ahead spot, but I do like Washington State a lot. I think their quarterback keeps it close. USC's defense hasn't been anything special this year. They've given up points. They've given up yards. I think Washington State might be a backdoor cover, but they'll keep it within the number. I like Iowa State money line. This isn't a homer pick just because I'm an alumni. I mean, it certainly is part of it. But Iowa State's defense has been really, really tough this year. I think Kansas State and Adrian Martinez will struggle. He's been so inconsistent all year that Kansas State offense has been up and down. I think they're going to struggle coming into Ames in a night game. Ames in a night game, that's always a tough place to play. Give me a tough defense. Give me a run game that only ran the ball for 30 yards at Kansas last week. They're going to come back with a focus on the run game, I expect. And I like Iowa State to take care of business there. I have San Diego State -22 versus Hawaii. This Hawaii team's under a new coach this year, all new roster. They shouldn't be an FBS team. So I like San Diego State to blow them out here. And I'm going to roll Beavs, Oregon State -7. My favorite team to bet in college football. They're a spread covering machine. They have Stanford. It's a tough matchup, tough game. But they have the offensive talent that Stanford doesn't. I like them to cover like I do every week. And most of the time they don't let me down. They're 4-1 against the spread this year. So it's 4 wins. 1 loss, I'll take that all day. So that's college for the week. Like I said, I think I'm going to combine shows going forward, especially if it's just me, because I can get through these in 20 minutes or so. If you guys like them split up better, let me know, and I can definitely do that. It's just I feel like one video might be easier for people to watch. My plan right now is to do one video. It'll always be on like Thursday or Friday. I need to figure out which night works best for me to record. But they will always be out before the weekend. And then I plan on doing on Sunday nights after Sunday Night Football a quick weekend recap when it's all fresh in my brain. That'll probably be like a 10-minute one. Just go through the college, go through the NFL games, just quick thoughts, and also give picks for Monday Night Football. Moving on to the NFL slate. So NFL has had very rough starts to the year. It's Man, it's been a weird year. Teams are just not being consistent. It's hard to get a gauge on these teams, these players. There's been a lot of unders, a lot of just weird games, weird football, weird comebacks. But we're getting into week 5, so you're starting to figure out patterns, you're starting to figure out teams, starting to figure out rosters, new players, new additions, how it's all working out. So the longer the season goes, that's generally when I do better. Beginning of the season sometimes can be a struggle. This year, I was about 500 in both college and NFL. NFL's a little lower, but going forward here, I really like this NFL slate. Starting off the London game, I love when they do these London games. It's the best to wake up in the morning to football. You get one game, you focus on the one game, and then right after the game ends, you're into red zone and 8 games, at noon. It's the best way to start the day. So starting off with that game, I have the Giants team total under 16.5. I picked this mainly because the Packers defense is really tough. The Giants offensive line problems have not been fixed. Daniel Dimes is under pressure almost the whole game. And the Packers defense is really good this year. I really like Rashawn Gary up front. They have Jair Alexander in the back, obviously. But then all across, their 2 rookies they got from Georgia are both stepping up really big. I think the Giants will be under that 16.5. I might add, because the Giants' run defense isn't too good, I might add Aaron Jones's over rushing yards. I'll have to check when I can tomorrow probably. But look out for that. I always like to add those player props, usually Sunday morning, just because not all of them are out until then. But I'll let you guys know on that on Twitter or Facebook. Moving on to Buccaneers -10. Buccaneers are the Falcons at home. After a Sunday night, loss, Brady off a loss. Falcons coming off, they've played a couple good games in a row, and I think the public's due for a reminder of how good the Bucs are and how bad the Falcons are. I don't see them keeping it close, especially in Tampa Bay. I think Tom's going to want to come out and punch him in the mouth. They have all the receivers back now, so, Chris Godwin's still hurt, but, getting Mike Evans back, getting Julio Jones back, Cameron Brate's in there now, Leonard Fournette's starting to get more involved. Their rookie running back that they drafted is starting to get involved in the pass game, so, I like Bucs to get it done and remind people of why they're an NFC title contender. I love Dolphins -3. Teddy Bridgewater, one of the best against the spread quarterbacks of all time. This is perfect. He's coming in. He's not expected to do much, but excuse me. Against the Jets, I really like him to come in with those weapons, especially Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle on the outside. Mike Gesicki, I actually like him to be more involved with Bridgewater. But I think he comes in, rights the ship, has them ready, and they take care of the Jets pretty easily. Along with that, I'm taking the Jets under 21.5. The Dolphins' defense this year has been really good. The only game that they've struggled was that Bengals Thursday night game. But, you look at the Bills game. They held the Bills to 19 points. Jets under 21.5. Jets are not better than the Bills offensively, clearly. So that's why I'm taking that under 21.5. I have the Chargers -2 against the Browns. This one I like based off last week's performance for the Browns. They got ran over by the Falcons, and it wasn't even Cordero Patterson. It was Tyler Algier, their rookie, and Caleb Huntley, another rookie, undrafted rookie. So, Austin Eckler will have a field day. I expect him to have 2 or 3 touchdowns, too. Might be a anytime touchdown prop I might add later. But they lost to the Falcons. There's not much else to say. They've played well so far, the Browns, and I think they will have a good day on the ground. This might be an over game. I could see might be an ad for me later, but no, I think Chargers will run it up on their defense. I like the Jags -7 at home versus the Texans. Uh, the Jags are for real. I mean, I'm ready to go on record. Their defense is frisky. Frisky maybe might not even be enough. I think they're legit just good at this point. Um, Defense is playing really good. They've had a lot of picks that have hit recently. And then you got Trevor Lawrence. He's starting to figure it out and be the quarterback that we all knew he was going to be when he came out of college. Uh, with a competent coach this year under Doug Peterson, I think he's done a really good job developing Trevor. Uh, they played a tough game last year. Philly, the conditions were terrible, and also Philly's really good this year, so that's not a bad loss. They even were up, got a 14-0 lead on them, so um, definitely nothing to hang their head on there. I expect them to come home, take care of the Texans, and yeah. Moving on to Titans game. Titans got the Commanders, who I would say are the worst team in football. It's there's a couple teams. People say the Texans, but I think the Texans actually have a decent defense. I don't think Washington has a good defense or offense, so that's why I have them as the worst. But it's definitely close. I mean, either one of them are very good. So I have Titans money line. The Washington's been ran on all year. Detroit did it. The Cowboys did it. Everyone's been running the ball on them. So you give me the best running back of the last 5 years. Didn't Derrick Henry? I like the Titans money line. I'm taking the Titans over 21.5 team total. I'm taking Derrick Henry over 85.5 yards rushing. I don't usually like to double dip on games and especially triple dip, but I just don't see a way that Washington will win this game. The Titans' pass rush has been pretty deadly all year. Carson Wentz has been getting sacked 4 or 5 times a game. It's just there's not many ways they have to win. There's always ways that you can be surprised, but I feel comfortable taking 3 different Titans bets in this game. Moving on to Saints minus 5.5. They play the Seahawks at home. I think this one, for me, is a readjustment game. The Saints coming off a tough game in London against the Vikings where they probably, should have won or at least gone to overtime. Seahawks put up, the amount of points that they did on the Lions. Shocked the world so far with how Geno Smith has been playing. But I think this is a readjustment game. It flips back. We realize the Saints aren't as bad as they've looked so far. They get it going against the Seahawks defense. I think the Seahawks offense will be smothered by the Saints defense, who's always one of the best foot in football. I expect this game to be a pretty handily easy game for the Saints at minus 5.5. Like the 49ers Panthers under 39. That Panthers offense last week was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in football. So until they fire Matt Rule, I'm going to continue taking Panthers unders because they can't score any points. And their defense is frisky enough that they'll keep them in the 20s probably, but don't expect the Panthers to score more than 10 against Nick Bosa and those guys in San Francisco. I then got the Eagles-Cardinals under 48.5. The problem with the Cardinals has been the offensive line. They're constantly forcing Kyler Murray to make plays with his feet the whole game, run for his life. And against an Eagles defense that's not going to let him do that, I don't see them putting up that many points. I also think the Cards defense is good enough to slow down the Eagles offense enough to keep this under 48.5. I love the Cowboys plus 5.5. This one almost feels too easy. Against the Rams in Los Angeles. The Rams' offensive line has been one of the worst units in football. And against DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, who have just been wreaking havoc on offenses all season so far. The Rams are going to struggle immensely. I think Cooper Rush and the offense will do enough to keep it within the spread. And I think this could be even a money line outright play. I'm taking the plus 5.5 because when you're given that many points, you got to take them. But not a bad idea to sprinkle money line on this one. And then finishing up with the last pick of the week. This is my lock for NFL. It's on a Sunday Night Football game, so it's prime time. It'll be a fun one to watch. It's the Ravens-Bengals over 48.5. And I know the primetime understats this year have been really bad. I think blame most of that on matchups. A lot of new teams with new players. So, teams getting adjusted to their new systems, new coaches, new players, etc. But Bengals Ravens will be one of the best matchups we've had so far this year. I got Lamar Jackson, who I have an MVP ticket on that I'm feeling really good about at 18-1. He's been playing out of his mind in a contract year where he has to get the money that he thinks he deserves. Joe Burrow and the offense has finally got to go in the last 2 weeks for Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a track meet up and down the field. Easy over this week. I don't know his side. I think it's going to come down to the last possession probably. Might be a Justin Tucker field goal. Might be an Evan McPherson field goal. But either way, this game's going over. Feel really good about that one. And it's perfect time, prime time, last game of the day. Be a fun one to watch. Monday night, like I said, I'll record Sunday night after NFL games are all over and get my pick for Monday night. Chiefs Raiders should be a good matchup. But yeah, those are the picks for the week. They're on TikTok, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. I have a new guy helping me out with my TikToks. He's been really good so far. So expect a lot better production quality on those TikToks. TikTok has never been my thing, so trying to get that figured out. But I think we have some good things coming out in the future. Like I said, plan on doing these videos every week. I have a lot of fun doing them. And I'm going to start doing more videos. I'm going to do shorter ones too. This one's my football pod, so it's a little bit longer. But doing more short form stuff too is an option. I have some blogs I've cooking up. I have an ESPN hate blog coming out. It's been a labor of love for me. If you ever heard me rant about ESPN, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, it'll be a fun blog for you to read. So, yeah, that's the show this week. If you have any comments or questions, reach out to me on any of my socials. Please comment, like, subscribe to this video. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Have a good weekend, everybody.